I see it with my clients daily and weekly. And we're talking about Proverbs 23:5, which just starts off with, cast a glance at riches and they are gone.
Rob Yeezy, like chatting with you again, and like also joining again with our community of viewers. Man, I'm taken to the story on going through something, all right, and not over it, not under it, not wishing it away, but going through something and developing character because you go through it and not over it or under it. My question to you, Rob, today is: what have you recently gone through that you just found it build your character so much? But here's the kick, right? That you wouldn't mind going over again. Like if they said you had to go over this again, exactly the same way, exactly the same way, because in hindsight now you see what character building it did. What would that be for you?
Oh my God. So before you ask the second bit of the question, um, I had COVID about 6 weeks ago, and it floored me.
Sure.
And uh, exhaustion beyond whatever I felt in the past. I've had a lot of sleeping time, and I've actually developed sleep apnea from it as well. I don't know how that happened, but I got diagnosed with that last week. And so, up until you said, and you go through it again, I was like, actually, identifying I need to take my health more seriously. That's been a very valuable learning for me. I'm 49 in a couple of weeks' time, and the realization from COVID that I'm no longer bulletproof. I probably never was, but in my mind, I was bulletproof, right? You could always strong, always fit, could cope with anything. And then to have this COVID again a couple of 6 weeks ago, and it flattened me. And now this sleep apnea off the back of it and this exhaustion, it's reminded me that I'm not bulletproof and
Sure.
that I need to take my food, my exercise, my sleep, everything more seriously.
Mhm.
That being said, going through it again isn't something that I particularly would want to do. But I do think that I'd be open to a health reminder that isn't quite that dramatic.
Oof, nice. I love how you put it
Yeah, isn't
there.
yeah, isn't quite that dramatic. And I'm well aware, be careful what you pray for. So, you had a cancer scare or something like that. So I don't want to say I want another dramatic health scare and get something bigger, better, and worse. But that for me has probably been the biggest realization. Um, and I've had a second one again, but I'll have a second one. I'll share that in a second. What about yourself?
Yes, Steve. It leads me to this, Rob, Psalm 77, verse 19, where it says, your path led through the sea, your way through the mighty waters, though your footprints were not seen. And it gets incredible to me that, God takes us through those moments and not in and around it, and is always there with us. And that piece that says basically his footprints were not seen, I literally believe that his hand was on us and his hand protected us through that season. And with me, it's definitely an incident that I went actually through at work, where I was bullied at work, hectically bullied at work. And for me, when I look back at it now, I see the character building that it did. I see how I've grown because of it. And I also see how I think different and my people skills have actually bettered through it. Would I go through it again with what I know now? Yes, I would go through that again. And this is the reason why. God literally came and visited me the other day and he showed me that he carried me through it. So I felt his presence in that time that he carried me through it, which was super incredible for me. So I wouldn't have felt God's presence in anything, I believe, if I didn't go through that. And yeah, it was just pretty incredible to me that I got to see another side of God through that I went through that most probably I wouldn't have seen had I not gone through that. And I'm glad and I'm happy and I can testify that yo man, he carried me through it. And yeah, I'm definitely a stronger person after that.
I think he's got all sorts of learning that he wants us to do, right? Along his path, he's got a path for us. He's got a plan for us. He knows a destination for us, a thing that we're going to excel at in his name. And you know, he probably hopes, maybe in your case, that you'd learn to stand up to bullies properly whilst you were at primary
100%,
school, something like
100%.
that. And somehow through grace, charm, wit, and smiling, you navigated all the way around it. And he's like, well, to achieve this thing I've got for you, you still need to learn to deal with this. So I'm going to keep
Yep.
presenting it to you. And it's really interesting. I go back to my health. I've had health issues since just before COVID, pneumonia, COVID twice, the vaccines messed me up. And each time I like take it seriously for a while, and then the seriousness goes off. And then he throws another, then it's almost like a rinse and repeat. It's like, I'm going to slap you harder this time. And one day you will actually learn this. It's the only way you can learn this. And I've been playing with this in my head that the calling he's given me is 100,000 Christian entrepreneurs as active clients in KingdomPreneur at any one point in time. There is no way a physically less than optimum Rob pulls that off. No way. It's just not possible. I can't lead as many people as I need to lead. I can't coach as much. I can't stand on stage as much, so on and so forth. And so it's just that, well, here's another reminder to take this thing seriously. Yeah, I think that's
At
what he.
that, how important do you think it is for our health to be on tip-top shape? Because it's like with me this afternoon, just before we met, I actually took a nap, but there's such a guilt feeling of taking that nap that, man, you should have actually been working. But I feel that as much as God says we should rest in him, which is not sit on our bum, but actually rest in him, in his word, be in supplication, being in prayer. But also like our physical bodies is like you said, with our health, we should take that seriously and importantly, and also be able to rest with that as well and still be able to be competent. But how important, especially in this society at the moment, where I feel that it's become such a toxic thing to say you graph now, you like graphing, you're working the whole time and all of that. How important has that become for you in the years?
I think there's a reality that health can become an obsession that actually takes you away from the work that you're supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Right. So I know people who struggle with their business because they obsess about CrossFit. Twice a day they're at the CrossFit box, then they're in a massage at lunchtime, and they're not actually they're like amateur CrossFit athletes, if that makes any sense, pretending to be a business owner. And so I think that there's a need to have great health, no doubt at all about that. But I think it has to, but to be the level of a CrossFit athlete or the level of an Olympian or anything else that we do, we actually can deviate away from a calling by focusing too much on another area.
100%.
Um, so my version of events, and I'm pretty comfortable with these, is you need to sleep 8 hours a day at least, and ideally that's 8 consecutive hours. And if you can't do 8 consecutive hours, have a sleep in the middle of the day, right? You probably anything that's white, potato, rice, sugar, so on and so forth, is probably flour, is probably a food group to be avoided. You should probably look to do a half an hour to 45 minutes of steady state cardio a day. And by that, what I mean is walking, slow rowing, slow cycling, stuff where you can exercise and still talk easily. And then probably every day you should look to do some plyometrics for 5 minutes, air squats, push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, anything like that. You should that's probably where you should look to be. Keep your BMI, your body mass index, ideally down way beneath 30. 25 is a good number. And that's my advice. Hydrate with water, avoid caffeine after lunch. I mean, you must do you. But I think in a world where people are getting progressively bigger and unhealthier because of it, we are accepting a level of health that is suboptimum and excusing it of I'm big boned or whatever else like that, which none of that is scientifically evidenced. None of it. Sorry if I'm upsetting anybody, but it's true. And we actually need to recognize we are the tool for the job as his child to lead his business. If the child isn't fit and healthy enough to lead the business, lead the staff, go home and be a awake, functioning human being who's a great mother, father, husband, wife, if your health is getting in the way of any one of those things, you probably should go and have a reality check with yourself. If you can't run 2 kilometers, just over a mile without getting out of breath, and you're underneath the age of 60, you probably need to go and have a conversation with yourself because your cognition in your brain is not functioning where it can be, and you are literally leaving money on the table business-wise because of a health you're making excuses for.
I love what you said there because I think it's as you say, everything, or especially to do with health, and I know that we're hammering quite a lot on health here, but it is exactly that. You'll think that you'll be busy and actually make more money by being busy than actually taking care of your health. Where I think the exact opposite, God will actually reward this part of you to then be able to make more money.
And I think we can, I think we worry like, well, I'm not doing anything useful with this time. I walk for
Mm,
5 kilometers, well, between 4 and 5 kilometers, depending on the day, around Hogsback, where I live here, pretty much every day of the week. I've actually got a pair of hiking boots on right now from this morning, because it's off-road walking. It's not, it's on gravel and off-road and whatever. And I can put my earpieces in, and I'm currently listening to Chris Fallerton's book around spiritual intelligence, right? That allows me to think about work. It allows me to think about God. It allows me to recover in Him with Him.
mm.
This time doesn't have to be just be bored on a rowing machine for 30 minutes and do nothing. You can do other things. You can even pray if you want to. There's nothing against that. Yeah, like what do you think? I know you're far. What do you notice?
I think one thing that I noticed with, especially with my health, and as you say, there's the different stages that one gets on. You get to perform, you get to MC, you get to DJ. You must definitely be at your best, and it just makes it easy and it makes it more fun as well. But one thing that I've definitely noticed, and how God literally takes one through the season, and this was one season that really, can I say, tested me, and especially with me putting myself in a certain gap of, this is how much I'm worth, and if you're not going to pay this, I'm not going to come out. And knowing very well that in other seasons and seasons before that, whatever came my way, I took, because I knew that, hey, this is a dry season, this is a bit of a winter season, so you must take this work, which ends up depleting me, which ends up at the end of the year when I do get really busy. I'm so tired and I'm at such a place of fatigue because I took all of this work. But I guess it's such a beautiful going through that I had with God, man. I even remember the conversation that we've had about this season of my life, is that I need to go and relook at how I can actually be busy in this season, but also cleverly so. And I believe that going through this season right now made me notice that, hey, man, but you can actually do something here without having as much effort as you do when you jump on stage, when you're busy DJing. But there's something else that you can actually do in this season that can generate an income for you. So it's all about resting in God, and it's all about literally allowing Him to take you through that season, because you learn so much, right? And even though it might seem and it might feel like He's not there, because this verse also says there's no footsteps to show that He was there through the wilderness or through the sea, but yet His hand of protection was over there, and you see it. I'm evidence of it, like on a daily basis. That, you know what, it might feel sometimes that He's not here, or you might feel that He's not in your situation at the moment, but believe you me, the reason that you're still watching this means that His hand is upon you.
Money without a plan becomes an invisible object. In fact, it disappears faster than you know how. I don't know if you've ever drawn cash out of a bank or out of an ATM and you've stuck it in your wallet and you knew you draw 1,000 or 100 or something like that. And next minute you look in your wallet and it's all gone, but you can't say what on.